The traditional banking system as we know it could very well collapse in the near future. This is the discussion that is bringing economists to the edge of their seats. Will China take over? Is BRICS and this new narrative going to beat out the United States dollar? Are we going to see hyperinflation? Are the Federal Reserve just going to have this endless money printer? While most people thought traditional banking was on its way out, there is one crypto that could take SWIFT to the next level, and that's Chainlink, revolutionizing the way our traditional financial system works. Cross-border remittance systems, cross-border payments, instant settlements, exactly what the traditional financial sector needs to survive this next revolution. But before we jump into Chainlink and how it could 10 to 20x and take over the market caps of companies like Visa, we need to first understand the history of the United States dollar. It's time to not only discover crypto, but also the corrupt history of the United States dollar. Today's economy is more globally interconnected than at any point in history. The rise of the information age and e-commerce has only accelerated the world's progress towards globalization of economic activity, with each actor depending more and more on their trade relationships with others. In order to support the shift towards a global economy, finance has had to expand and broaden its borders as well. Before we get too deep into this, let's first define what global finance means. Finance is a broad term for almost anything related to the management, creation, or study of money and investments. It encompasses everything related to debt and credit, as well as securities and investment to finance current projects using future cash flows. And global finance is just finance, but at a global scale. To chart this history of all this would be too much for one video. So as a way into this subject, we're going to take a look at three key things. Number one, the CIA-backed coup in Iran in the 1950s. Two, the SWIFT payment system. And no, I'm not talking about Taylor Swift and your concert tickets. I mean SWIFT, the global communication network. And lastly, but most importantly, Chainlink and their role in financial innovation. Okay, so let's start with a history lesson on how the CIA overthrew the democratic government of Iran. Yes, I said democratic. On August 19th of 2013, the CIA made its first public admission that it had been involved in the 1953 coup against Iran's elected prime minister, Mohammad Mossadegh. Documents now held in the United States National Security Archive contain details of the plan and how it was carried out. The effort was called Operation Ajax. This was led by US President Teddy Roosevelt's grandson, Kermit Roosevelt Jr., over the course of 4 days in August of 1953. Roosevelt coordinated not just one, but two different attempts to destabilize the government of Iran. These actions would change the course of history in Iran forever, and most importantly, change the relationship between Iran and the United States. Now, I know you guys are probably asking right now, Josh, what does this have to do with crypto? And I promise you guys, I will get to Chainlink in just a moment. But to understand how Chainlink could potentially explode in price and value, trust me guys, we need to know where that value comes from. Post-war Iran was going through a lot of changes. It was now an occupied country and was crippled by wartime, inflation, and political fragmentation. However, the war and occupation had almost stimulated a higher amount of economic activity, and had also brought in the freedom of press, trade unions, and more political diversity. After the war ended, a coalition of nationalists, clerics, and non-communist left-wing leaders formed a political party called the National Front, eventually coming to support Mohammad Mossadegh, a politician who wanted to reduce the power of the Shah and the clergy in Iranian politics. It seems that the prime minister was very popular in Iran. While he was in office, he introduced a range of new and modern social and economic policies. The nationalization of the Iranian oil industry was probably one of the biggest changes he instituted, and was very lucrative for Iran. Prior to this, however, the UK had controlled Iranian oil for decades through something called the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, which later rebranded to a little outfit you have probably heard of, the British Petroleum Company, also known as BP for short. After a long negotiation process, Prime Minister Mossadegh broke things off and denied the British any further involvement with the Iranian oil industry. This obviously did not sit well with the Brits, so they appealed to their old ally, the good old United States. Of course, the ultimate result of this was the CIA-led effort to overthrow Mossadegh and return power to the last Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. According to the book, All the Shah's Men, Roosevelt's grandson quickly got control of the Iranian press by simply bribing them, just like the United States politicians. He then paid them to help circulate anti-Mossadegh propaganda. Next, Kermit recruited more allies from the Islamic clergy, and persuaded the Shah that Mossadegh posed a threat to the future of Iran. The piece of the plan involved a very dramatic attempt to arrest the prime minister himself. This would take place at the middle of the night in his own house. However, this part of the plan did not pan out, because Mossadegh got word of the plan and fought back when they came to take him. He made a massive proclamation of victory over the radio the very next morning, and thought that he was out of all that trouble. But if you know anything about the CIA, you probably know that they just don't give up that easily. Roosevelt then immediately orchestrated a second coup, and Mossadegh was put on trial and placed under house arrest. The Shah returned and ruled until the Iranian Revolution of 1979. But the coup lived in the memory of the Iranians for generations, and to this day. And the truth of it came to light and forever tainted the relationship between Iran and the United States and Western powers in general. It also meant there would be no future talk of nationalization of Iranian oil. A Western multi-international group led by British Petroleum scaled up Iranian oil development, known as the NIOC, the National Iranian Oil Company. This rapidly expanded its oil production, and also formed subsidiaries and agreements with international companies. This was all to further exploit the area's oil reserves in the Middle East. It was a big business, and it was booming, but it was not nationalized by Iran. Of course, much of the world came to depend on much of the oil they were getting out of Iran until the revolution in 1979. This revolution disrupted the Iranian oil production and hit the whole world with a shortage of oil. Strikes in the oil fields began in the late 1978, and by 1979, crude oil production had dropped by 4.8 million barrels per day. This made up 7% of the entire global production. This sparked a wave of panic buying that made matters worse. In less than a year, the price of barrel of oil jumped from $13 to $50 per barrel. By 1985, the Saudis were fed up with the chaos of the situation, and they completely ended up changing their pricing structure. Instead of an established contract price of oil, they created something called a netback, which was a pricing structure. The Saudis set the price of their crude oil price based on the price of refiners received for the refined products, plus a set of profit for the refiner themselves. This allowed the refiners to lock in their profit margins and meant that they would not need to haggle for the lowest possible price of crude oil anymore. Under this model, the more crude oil a refiner processed, the more profits they could make. The result of the new Saudi pricing scheme was a war for market share among oil producers and oil-producing nations. Of course, the United States stepped in. The US moved to deregulate oil production, and the price of the oil collapsed. And when the dust settled, the Saudis and the United States had made a deal for oil and instituted the almighty petrodollar, which meant that the global oil market would now be denominated in US dollars. Buying and selling oil and gas in dollars guaranteed a huge amount of influence for the US, and of course, sustainable demand for the US dollar. And this is what led to the creation of SWIFT. What is SWIFT? The Society for World Interbank Financial Telecommunication, SWIFT. This is a set of standards for formatting information that is electronically exchanged between one financial or corporate entity and another. In other words, it's a messaging system for your banks. SWIFT provides secure messaging software to over 11,000 financial institutions in more than 212 different countries, which effectively makes it the standard messaging system for any kind of global financial activity. Now, SWIFT was founded in 1973 by a group of 239 banks in 15 countries, right around the oil embargo. The intention was to create a unified international transaction processing system. And in 1977, the first SWIFT message was sent by Prince Albert of Belgium, and the number of member banks had already grown to 513. By 1978, SWIFT expanded from banks only to include other financial institutions that worked with securities, as well as money markets and practically anything else that can be financialized. Now, since then, SWIFT has been unchallenged. It has been the single most important technical component of the global financial system for the last 50 years. That is, until June of 2023, when it was announced that the Asian Clearing Union, ACU, was to launch a new cross-border financial messaging system. Their intention with this is to offer the global market an alternative to SWIFT. This is a huge deal and marks a major move against the United States and Western financial systems. It also shows the appetite for new payment systems and a growing push for ways to escape from the dominance of the United States dollar. In case it's not obvious, the reason for this move is that many countries in the world do not like the United States. I wonder why. And don't want to be economically or financially beholden to the US. By creating an alternative to SWIFT, they can continue to conduct financial business, even if they are at an economic or military war with the United States. Now, the consequences of the decline of SWIFT and its loss of monopolistic control over the international finance is a huge strategic loss of power for the United States. Being able to keep all of this economic and financial activity denominated in US dollars and dependent on the US-based system, that is what has led to the vital dominance of the United States on a global scale. Now, the ACU has been around for a while and was established in 1974, made to be a payment arrangement through which participants settled payments for intra-regional transactions among the participating central banks on a net multilateral basis, all according to the ACU's website. ACU currently has 9 members, including India, Iran, and Pakistan. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, asked to develop the New Development Bank, aka the NDB, to provide guidance on how a potential new shared currency might work. While the use of alternative currencies was among the prominent talking points during the BRICS foreign ministers meeting held in Cape Town, now by now if you haven't heard of BRICS, they are probably one of the largest threats against the US dollar. And the conversations around that have only been advancing over the years. Now by this point in the video, I am sure some of you are wondering, what does this have to do with crypto? Well, that phrase, alternative currencies, is the key here. That's exactly why Bitcoin was created, and there are a lot of projects in the digital asset industry, specifically that are seeking to provide alternatives to cash and SWIFT. Honestly, the list of projects that aren't trying to replace or compete with SWIFT is shorter than the list of the ones that are. You have Ripple, Stellar, Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin, XDC, not to mention stablecoins and USDC. It's a pretty crowded niche, which is completely okay because of how huge the addressable market is. You don't need to be a maxi. There is tons of opportunity. Because let's face it, we're talking about global finance. Now, all of these projects are great and I wish them well. But there is only one project out of all of these that has successfully and publicly integrated with SWIFT, the legacy global financial system. Only one project, which has been building all bear market long and has some of the largest partnerships in the world, is working in collaboration with SWIFT and other major financial institutions. And that project is Chainlink. So quick shout out to the Link Marines. And smash that like button if you haven't already if you are holding Link itself. Okay, so what is Chainlink? And why have they been chosen to come play with the big boys? Chainlink was launched in 2017 by Sergey Nazarov and Steve Ellis. These two co-authored a white paper detailing something they called the Chainlink Protocol. This was all alongside Cornell University professor Ari Jules. Chainlink started out as a simple data oracle project, a bridge between blockchain and off-chain data. For example, Bitcoin does not know what time of day it is. Its only concept of time at the protocol level relates to the blocks themselves. If you need to bring that information into a smart contract, you need a data oracle like Chainlink. Another example is if you're writing a smart contract on Ethereum or developing an application, and you want it to have something like send 5 ETH to a given wallet if the Rangers win the World Series, you would then need a data oracle to be able to bring that information on chain and let the system know that the Rangers won in the World Series. Without Chainlink, the smart contract wouldn't know if the conditions to release the ETH have been met. Now, I'm oversimplifying this, but that's the general idea. Now, Chainlink has relatively been unchallenged as the premier data oracle of the entire digital asset industry. I mean, seriously, it probably has the most partnerships out of any crypto. It is the standard for building, accessing, and selling oracle services needed to power smart contracts on basically any network. And that's because Chainlink Oracle's networks provide smart contracts that are reliable connections to almost any external API. And they leverage secure off-chain computations to enable the creation of unique applications. Every day, Chainlink secures tens of billions of dollars across DeFi, as well as insurance, gaming, and effectively every other area of the crypto industry. Anywhere there is a hybrid smart contract, you can bet that Chainlink is powering something related to it. Chainlink also works in the other direction. Now for global enterprises and data providers seeking a universal gateway to access data from all blockchains, Chainlink cannot be beaten. It's impossible to overstate the integrity of the Chainlink network. Chainlink is vital. This unique positioning has enabled them to create a product offering that is something of a holy grail in crypto. Since the early days, crypto users have struggled with the problem of interoperability, which essentially refers to the idea of different blockchain ecosystems being able to work and communicate with each other. Historically, this was a problem because, for example, if you wanted to move Bitcoin onto Ethereum, you'd have to go through this insane hour-long process of wrapping it before you can move it over to the chain. but there wasn't a way to transfer value over different networks natively. That is until Chainlink came in. On July 20th, 2023, the Chainlink Cross-Chain Interoperability Protocol, or CCIP, officially launched to all developers across 5 testnets. This protocol allows for the native transfer of any value between all and any blockchains, at least the ones integrated with Chainlink. Not only that, but it also integrated with SWIFT and the entire financial legacy system. We talked before about alternative currencies. Well, Chainlink CCIP means that it doesn't matter what currency or crypto you want to use. If you want to transfer value, you use CCIP. This can instantly and natively translate between all these networks of value. This is truly a revolutionary piece of global financial infrastructure, and it is changing the game forever. If it sounds like I'm bullish, it's because I am. A case study that Chainlink released in October detailed their work with a $600 billion lending giant, Australian and New Zealand Banking Group, or ANZ. In this study, they demonstrated that the ANZ-issued stablecoins could be transferred across different chains via the CCIP. And this was a huge breakthrough in the terms of institutional adoption and the tokenization of assets by financial institutions. If you're interested, I will leave a link to the full case study in the description down below. Now, it's not yet clear how much adoption CCIP is going to get from institutions, but this could absolutely revolutionize the international monetary system that has been created for over 50 years, the entire fractional banking system. If Chainlink is able to hook up all of the SWIFT network to all of the blockchain ecosystems, all at once, then it could be possible to do extremely fast, scalable, and low-friction cross-chain transactions in and out of the banking system. Banks wouldn't have to promise that they were holding their reserves anymore. Their reserves would be publicly verified on-chain. Now, there are going to be hurdles ahead for Chainlink still. There is still a lot of money at stake. Basically, all of it if you want to know the truth. And as a result, they are going to face a ton of resistance and stiff competition. But as we have seen, history tells us that there is a strong appetite for a decentralized alternative to the legacy global financial system. People no longer want to have their money controlled by a potentially hostile centralized authority. Individuals and institutions all over the world are actively seeking alternative currency solutions in order to secure globally capable financial systems. Now, I hope you found this informative and got more of a sense on how everything in the world is connected. Post-war CIA coups d'etats and international meddling led to the conflicts and the creation of SWIFT, all to hold the global financial system together under Western influence. And now the desire to get away from that system of control is leading to an ever-increasing demand for alternatives. It's more important than ever that you do your own research about all of this. And more importantly, ask questions, think globally, study history, and ask why we do things the way we do. Question who you should trust in the system. Understand how and why it works, and who it works for. Stay informed, pay attention, and maybe most important of all, never miss a chance to discover crypto. That's all I got for you on this one, but let me know down in the comments below. What do you think about CCIP? And what, if anything, you think is going to replace SWIFT? So be sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more content on global finance and blockchain technology. My name's Josh, this is Discover Crypto, and I'm going to see you at the top.